Good morning. This is Citrus County Planning and Development Commission hearing for December the 4th, 2025. If you'd like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing to Thee, our county, and its residents. In the Lord's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for the courtesy of the applicants, the board, and those around you. At this time, if you can place all your cellular devices on mute or airplane mode, please. May we get the roll call?
Yes, the following Planning and Development Commission members are present. Chair Richard Barmez, David Bramblett, first vice chair, Robert Shera, second vice chair, Jeanette Collins, Michael Facemeyer, and School Board Representative Chuck Dixon.
Thank you. If any person decides to appeal any decisions made by the commission with respect to any matter considered at this hearing, he or she will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose, he or she may need to ensure that the verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes testimony and evidence upon the appeal is to be based. During the public input portions of this meeting, individuals are given 3 minutes, and representatives of an organization are given 5 minutes. When anyone wishing to speak comes to the podium, please complete the yellow form to hand to the recording secretary. So please print your name, your address, and the number of the application for which you are speaking onto the form. The yellow forms can be found at the podium by the door. If representing an organization, a letter of authorization must accompany the speaker. Comments will be limited to the topics being heard, so please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the tape record. And at this time, I'm going to open up the podium for the public. This is an opportunity for you to come forward to address this commission on any issues that you may wish, but just a reminder that this is not the time for you to come for any applications that's being heard today. Anyone? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting down. We do not have any minutes to approve. Do we have any staff announcements?
Mr. Lana, do you have anything?
Yes, Chairman. We are just beginning the process of updating our comprehensive plan with our consultant, Inspire. They had some stakeholder meetings earlier this week, so those of you that participated, thank you for taking the time. There's a website that they have. If anybody's interested, I can give them a card that has a QR code to fill out a survey. It takes 5 minutes, and you can kind of share your thoughts and begin participating. And then they're having the first public workshop, open to anyone here in this room on Monday at 5:30 p.m. So anybody that's watching at home, I encourage them to come and participate. If you have any friends or colleagues that want to participate, that'd be the first opportunity to do so.
Will the format be the same for the public?
No, it'll be different. So they'll be more engaged and do some exercises and try and kind of gather some more in-depth information.
All right, great.
Have the second and third meetings been scheduled?
They have not.
And I'm also going to do a public service announcement. There is another fish emails chain. Thanks to Dr. Wilburn for letting us know about that. It's coming from Mr. Landon at a .usa website on behalf of the Planning and Development Commission, soliciting funds by a wire for applications. Our office does not accept payment by wire. I don't even have a clue how to do that. We don't use a .usa email address. We only get payment by our portal. So if anybody's watching and you have an application in-house, we're not going to ask you to email a USA address and wire us.
I don't want your money.
So that's all your testimony?
Well, we're trying to open up a mobile home dealership business. I don't know, I was more or less expecting questions.
Well, you're gonna get those, I promise you that.
I really don't know how much further you want to go.
All right, well, let me start with, does the staff have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
There we go. I'm not a very good presenter.
Fine. So one of the things that was requested as part of this is to place the mobile home displays on grass instead of having a stabilized surface. Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, the mobile homes are going to go on and off the property several times throughout the year. Most of the property at one time, it looks like it had a solid foundation, but the grass has kind of grown through it. Because like I said, it used to be a mobile home dealer. We would probably be willing to do whatever we need to do to satisfy any requirements laid forth by you guys.
Okay. And I know the application is for mobile home sales. Do you plan on doing any kind of servicing there as well? Do you know?
Now, that'll all be done by the factory, the mobile home factories that we buy our product from.
Okay. And are you familiar with the conditions that are in the staff report?
The conditions of, oh, yes, you mean like what we need to do?
Right. Yeah, at the end of the
Yes.
staff report. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. No further questions.
All right, does the board have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Collins.
Good morning.
Good morning, I'm sorry.
So just clarification again on the display area. I know you want to maintain the grass area for where you're going to be placing the mobile homes as a display area.
Yes, ma'am.
Will the aisles be stabilized? Will you have aisles where people will still like drive around or?
Well, so they'll park, where we're going to put the office, the view was up there. There's a little parking lot already existing up there.
Yes.
The office is going to go right there. And then what will happen is they'll park and they'll come in the office, and then we will show them around to each mobile home. Each mobile home will have a walkway and a set of steps to it to, come in and out of the mobile home. And we pretty much accompany the customer throughout most of their tour. And then sometimes if we get busy, we'll release and go to the next customer, and then they make their way back to the office. But yes, they will have a clear path of where to go in and how to go in, and it will be stable. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then my next question is, I think one of the concerns of placing a mobile home park, even though these are display, nobody's living there, but it's in our coastal high hazard area, so there's a chance always of flooding. I saw that your flood zone, you're in an AE with a base flood elevation of 9. Will you be doing do you know approximately what the grade is of the property? I did not see it in the staff report. And/or will you be doing any changes to the elevation?
When we apply for the permits and they tell us what we need to do, we subcontract that out to Sam's Mobile Service, which is also on the application.
Yes.
They'll be handling all that, but it'll be done to the code, county code, state code. I believe we have established that somewhere in the notes here. I thought I'd seen that, but it's going to be what we would call a normal setup of the modular office. So it's not going to have to be real high or real low. It's just going to be a normal. I believe it was 38 inches above the ground, something like that.
Okay.
We do sub that out, and it'll all go through permitting as to how they want us to do it.
Okay, and my last question is just buffering to the residentially designated areas. You have no problem with establishing a buffer,
No problem whatsoever.
a landscape buffer?
And a
Okay.
lot of it, you're talking about the tree line and stuff, and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
A lot of it's existing, but we're going to add to whatever we need to add to satisfy the requirements.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Shara.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On your master plan, you show an area designated for site water retention area.
Yes, sir.
It would be in the southeast corner.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any analysis done on that, or is that?
It's actually existing. We're probably going to have to modify it just a little bit, but there's actually a stormwater drainage area there already, and we were just going to wait to see what permitting required, if we even have to add to it, but if we do, we will.
Well, it's not obvious from the site visit?
Oh, no. You'd have to actually go there to see it, but it's there. It's got concrete, culvert-type stuff on it and everything. So whoever went in previously did some of that stuff already. But we will add to it or modify it or start over with it. Yes, sir.
So, again, to your comment, meeting the conditions of the county related to the permitting requirements.
Yes.
You will accept those.
Oh, yes, yes, sir, absolutely.
Now, that,
100%.
the configuration of the site, it's an L, if you will. We can see on the drawing there. What part of that site do you plan to occupy with your 10 units?
So the entrance will be off of Suncoast Boulevard. We do not, I thought there was a drawing too. Sorry, hold on one second. How did that not get? Well, what we plan to do is we're going to have maybe 2 or 3 on the South Coast Boulevard. There it is, thank you. We're going to have 2 or 3 on the South Coast Boulevard side display units. And then we would go around basically in the shape of that L there, but off the fence line, the setbacks and stuff. We only plan to do about 10 to 12 houses, give or take. And so with the being 3 acres there's plenty of room, but we plan on following the fence line
Okay.
with the display units, with the front door facing the properties. Except for on the Highway 19 side, the front door would face the highway of the units.
So the front door is facing inward to your site?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Very welcome, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Facemeyer.
I just have a comment and a request for the board to consider. Since the property is subject to flooding and that is, and it's only intended to be a show area for model trailers, I don't want to overlook the obvious, but I think we should add a condition that says no occupancy in any of these model trailers.
Oh, that's absolutely.
And that's, not to say you're disingenuous about your application, I'm sure you are. I tend to think down the road when all of us are gone and doing something else, somebody decides to move in and a vagrant or something like that. It'd be easier to get them out if there's a condition.
Oh, yes, sir, that's fine. Yes, sir. And just to add to that, the property is totally fenced in. It'll have a lock gate at night, so that's gonna keep a lot of vagrancy stuff out of they'd have to hop over the barbed wire and stuff, is what I'm saying. So, yeah.
But that's now, that's,
Yes, sir, yes, sir. There's a 0% chance we would ever wanna have anybody living.
No, I understand that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, on your model units that you're gonna have 8 to 10, are they gonna be anchored or are they gonna be floating?
No, they'll just be set up for display. They won't be anchored in or anything like that.
We have a hurricane coming. Do you have a game plan to keep these from ending up on 19?
They weigh about 50,000 pounds. I mean, they're not gonna go anywhere. There's several other mobile home dealers in Citrus County that nobody's anchoring their houses down. I mean, Clayton Homes, Acme Homes, nobody's anchoring their display models down.
All right, I see that we have a health department letter about your septic tank.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any kind of a site inspection on the system, either by the county, yourself?
I'm not sure
Or by
about
the
the
health?
county. I don't think so because we haven't applied for a permit yet, but we have had it pumped. We've had it pumped out and looked at. And then Sam's Mobile submitted some paperwork to the commission. And to the plan.
That's only gonna be on the office building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is there a city sewer there?
Yeah, it's a city water and then the septic tank.
I mean, is there city sewer available at your site?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions.
And then just to add that none of the display models will have any type of running water, running anything like that. They're just basically put together for people to look at, pick one out, and then we sell them one, and then we deliver it to their property.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, we get the staff to come forward to make their presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is PUD 2025-00011 for Sam's Mobile Home Services LLC.
Frankie, can you state your name for the record, please?
Frankie Pyland, planner.
Thank you.
The subject property here is located at 8705 West Candy Lane, Homosassa. The property has an address off Candy Lane, but the applicant has indicated that they intend to use South Suncoast Boulevard as their access point for customers coming in and out. The property is currently Zone GNC, General Commercial. And this map here shows that it is in the coastal high hazard area. There looks like a few different areas of the property that may not be as affected. However, the property as a whole does fall within the coastal high hazard area. When we looked at the view of the property, this is the view on South Suncoast Boulevard facing the property. You see there's an existing concrete pad that was a parking lot for the former modular office that was there. And they intend to reuse that concrete pad and stripe it for the new parking lot. This is a view facing north on South Suncoast Boulevard, showing that there is a large sidewalk there, as well as the access. If you could see where there is the white county Bronco, that would be the access point by which the customers would be coming and going to the site. And this is a view facing south on South Suncoast Boulevard, and a view from West Candy Lane. West Candy Lane is more or less a rock or a dirt road. It's not fully improved. And again, there's no indication so far that they intend to use that. I believe there is a condition through technical services that indicates that if they are going to use West Candy Lane, they cannot obstruct any traffic to any businesses or residences along that roadway. When we look at the master plan, again, in that top corner, you'll see the rectangular shaped parking area. Right behind that is where they intend to put their modular office, and it shows the septic system to the left between South Suncoast Boulevard and the proposed office. The rest of the area is just identified as loading zone and shows a area towards the bottom middle that is intended to be the stormwater, though no full stormwater plans have been submitted at this time. There was questions about the base flood elevation. According to the FEMA maps, it looks like it is base flood elevation of 9 foot. And from looking at our GIS system, it looks like the property is graded between 4 foot and 6 or 7 foot. So just depending on the areas of the property would, be impacted as far as elevation of units or whatever the standards would be at that time. Excuse me. The applicant has proposed through their application process 8 to 10 manufactured homes on display. I believe there may be some confusion or some comments from the applicant that they may be looking for 10 to 12. I'm not positive what the max amount of units that they are asking for at this point is. However, the applicant, as it came in, said 8 to 10, so we put a condition up to 10 manufactured homes. That's obviously up for the board's decision, though.
That's fine.
Okay. Any questions?
Does the applicant have any questions for staff?
No questions, but 10 would be fine as far as the amount. Like I say, it's just going to be just a small dealership.
All right.
My only question would be,
I need you to come to the microphone for the record, please.
8 to 10 homes would be fine. If I said 12, I probably was just trying to thumb through the notes. We're trying to just be just a small mobile home dealership. We're not trying to put 30 or 40 houses anywhere. There's not really 8 to 10 would be ideal for the acreage of that property. I really don't have any questions. I just wasn't real prepared. I'm sorry, I was a little nervous in the beginning. I wasn't prepared for me talking first type of deal. So, if we get to the phase where we apply for permitting, whatever the permitting folks want us to do, we're going to do. We're going to make this a beautiful piece of property, a very nice looking dealership. It'll look much better than it looks right now being vacant. We're currently maintaining the property even though we don't own it yet. We're very dedicated to trying to get something open.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions for the staff?
Mr. Chair, before we go on with staff, based on the comments from the PDC, condition number 3 proposed, we would add, it currently says no more than 10 mobile manufactured homes shall be displayed and or stored on site, and we would add and cannot be occupied on site based on what Mr. Facemeyer was talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. That's going to be one of my questions to you. Anybody have any questions for staff? Frankie, I got one question.
Sir.
It shows on the map there that there's a 15-foot height sign that they're proposing, or is written in there up in the top left-hand corner. Is that, I didn't see an existing sign there.
I don't believe that there is an existing sign at this time. Signage is a separate permit, so that would have to go through the standard permitting process. There's been no deviations requested for anything that's larger or, out of the ordinary for what's allowed.
So as far as LDC Section 3745, the additional design standards, would the sign be part of that LDC code so that we won't have to worry about making any kind of conditions for the sign?
Well, the signs are under a separate chapter, but it would have to follow all the LDC standards unless a deviation was requested for it.
And that's in condition 1. Generally, it says have to follow land development code unless exempt in these conditions. Signage is not, so they would have to comply with that.
Thank you. That's the only questions I have. Anybody else have any questions for staff?
He's trying to. Yeah, I know.
I got a question, Frank.
Commissioner Shara.
Morning, Frankie.
Morning.
I didn't see anything in the application or on the plan about lighting. Is there proposed to be lighting of this facility?
I'm not aware of what their lighting plans are. However, that would have to meet that LDC Section 3745 for the amount of illumination and foot candles that are allowed.
Okay. Does it cause you any concern that they're not proposing to stabilize the site, put down any type of material other than grading? I'm assuming it doesn't even say grading it to a level condition, but does that create any concern for you in permitting?
We put a condition under number 2 to try to kind of alleviate those concerns, in that we wrote that the display area must be maintained to prevent soil erosion. How frequently mobile homes or manufactured homes would be coming on and off the site, quite frankly, I don't know. But ultimately, as long as they're not running up the road or deteriorating the soil conditions, I don't believe it's going to be a concern of land development. And again, that's why we put that condition in there to satisfy that if the board does approve grass parking as opposed to stabilized parking.
Okay. And one last, and just in terms of the practical logistics of traffic, I went to the site. The apron that's shown on the picture for access into the site's reasonably narrow. And I'm assuming that these mobile homes are nominally 30 to 40 feet in length, plus the cab. Any concern or issues raised regarding the access in and out of the site for the mobile home?
Honestly, I don't know what their schematics are of how they're going to bring the mobile homes in and out. I know I did have a conversation with the applicant initially about the fencing that goes through that and making sure that they had enough room to bring in vehicles, especially being the mobile homes. And one of the conversations was about moving the fence back to make sure there is enough of that throat distance for any type of vehicle to be able to not park on US 19, but be able to stop specifically on their property and not back up traffic if there is an issue with the gate or an issue with the distance that they would need to bring that vehicle in. So the assumption, to the best of my understanding here, is that any navigation that they're going to need to do from backing up, from rearranging the units would all be done on their property. And that's why I think the 8 to 10 really satisfies with the amount of size that they have that property, satisfies the space that they need to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right. Thank you, Frankie. All right, this time the public portion of the meeting will be open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation you want to be entered into record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting down, and I'm going to bring the discussion back to the board.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bramlett.
I don't have any issues with this application. I think some of the questions that have been asked are great questions, but are things that will be handled at permitting and by the Land Development Code and the Building Department. I've been around mobile homes quite a bit. I know that they do not anchor these mobile homes down. These are just temporary display units. There's no electric, no power, there's no CO. So I don't really know. We can add the occupancy. I just feel like, we're just trying to add additional stuff that other mobile home dealers don't have to deal with. I don't have a problem with it, though. I don't have a problem with this entire application. I just want to mention to the applicant that I do believe he's going to have an issue with cross-access on this property, the way you have your property designed on that master plan. The septic tank, where the location of the septic tank is and the location of the proposed office is right adjacent to the north cross-access. So you may have to do some kind of jockeying around with your office display there. But aside from that, I'm in favor of this application.
Thank you, Commissioner Bramlett.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Scherer.
Echoing those comments, the things that I was looking for are really not clarified, yet they are part of the permitting process. I saw the size of the area designated for septic, and so that goes beyond my purview to comment on, is that sufficient, or is the system sufficient? But that's an area that needs to be squared away during the permitting process, obviously. The wastewater, having visited the site, I didn't see the wastewater retention area, and that'll have to be evaluated and taken care of. And the applicant has said that they will meet the county requirements and state requirements from that perspective. Just as a general comment and more of an editorial comment, that's a busy part of Route 19. There's a number of mobile home facilities as well as other commercial facilities there. I think traffic could be a challenge from time to time, and that's something we're really going to have to focus on. But other than that, I find it to be consistent and compatible with the surrounding area, and I would support this.
Thank you, Commissioner Scherer. Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was interested in if there was any public input, but otherwise I feel it meets the intent of the comprehensive plan, and as long as all the standards of the Land Development Code are met, then I have no objection. I would also, the only thing that flagged out to me also was the entranceway on the US 19, which is a state road. So I would recommend to you that you probably have a pre-application meeting with the Florida Department of Transportation to see if any improvements are going to be necessary for bringing in these size units. But otherwise, that's going to be a permitting process through the state. So as I'm sure you're aware. But otherwise, I have no objection.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. Commissioner Facemeyer.
I too intend to support this application.
All right, and I as well. And for the purpose of a motion, the Planning and Development Commission finds application number PUD-2025-00011 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval with the conditions of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and the conclusions regarding the petition.
Second.
So we got a first by myself, second by Commissioner Scherer. And just to clarify, the conditions number 3 is part of the conditions. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chair, this application has been placed on the Board of County Commissioners' agenda on January 6, 2026 at 5:01 p.m.
All right, thank you. All right, now it's time for CPA/AA/PUD-2025-00003 for local engineering for Edward Gertz. The applicant's present. Please work your way to the podium while we get the staff introduction, please.
This request is to amend the future land use map of the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan from RUR, Rural Residential District, to IND, Industrial District, and to amend the Land Development Code Atlas map from RUR MH, Rural Residential District, Mobile Homes Allowed, to IND, EUD, Heavy Industrial District with a Planned Unit Development. and to establish a planned unit development for commercial and industrial warehouse units and telecommunications tower. This is looking north from the subject property. This is looking south from the subject property. This is looking east from the subject property across Citrus Avenue. This is looking west at the subject property. And this is the proposed master plan submitted by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Michael.
Morning, members of the Planning and Development Commission. Michael D. Wilburn, Local Engineering, Inc., P.O. Box 938, Floral City, Florida. I'm representing Mr. Garrett's this morning for CPA AA PUD 2025-00003. Currently, the owner has 10.06 acres that is zoned industrial. There's actually an open permit for that 10-acre site currently. It's permitted through the county and the state, SwiftMud. The retention pond that you see there on the right side of your screen is currently permitted, as well as the entire area where you see the parking and the 12 buildings that run through the center. Not the buildings are not permitted. There's one building in the bottom right corner, phase 1, that is currently permitted to be constructed on the site, I should say. So we've already obtained on the existing zoning for industrial a permit to develop this site with its current zoning, with the cell tower in the northeast corner on the top right of that proposed DRA. So what this permit seeks to do is two things. The first thing we're looking to do is expand the existing line that separates the industrial from the RUR, which it shows up on her computer, but not on yours. Darn. So there's a dashed line. Hopefully you can see it. Can I approach that monitor?
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. This dashed line that runs north to south is the existing separation between the industrial and the RUR. So as we zoom back out this map, just keep in mind this dashed line is currently the delineation between the industrial and the RUR.
Now it's working.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So this application, there's really two parts. The first goal of this application is to adjust that line approximately 300 feet to the west. And that's what you see there on this site plan. The entire picture there would be moving that line approximately 300 feet. And the reason why 300 feet, a few years ago, same family, Garrett family, for this board and the BOCC obtained approval to, on the property to the south, have industrial zoning that goes to that line. And so in the staff report, when you see the current zoning map, you'll see the industrial extends to what we're asking for with this application currently on the property to the south. Second, in working with Ms. Katu on this application, it was suggested that even though there's a current permit to develop the existing industrial park, that it would be better to show a future plan with a PUD and have that overlay as we do this expansion. And so we went ahead and showed all of the future buildings. There's 15 total. Keep in mind that the site is currently designed for all of that to be impervious now and be outdoor parking or other types of industrial laydown yard, things like that, and drain to that retention pond. So the only thing in terms of a PUD that we would be adding building-wise are the 3 buildings on the west side of that dashed line that you see there. The 10.07 or 10.06 approximate acres is currently under construction for phase 1. There have been inspections that have been taking place. I've already mentioned that that pond with the state is already designed to have an impervious ratio on site of 70%, which is the maximum. There are no environmental concerns. Like I said, we've already obtained a permit. The request is consistent with the adjacent properties as well as additional properties to the west And I want to point out another line that's important, which will come up later.
You have to drag it over to your screen.
Oh,
There you go.
cool. Okay. So
Getting your exercise today.
I have to stay over here. Wow. So this is the line that currently separates the industrial from the RUR. This line here is a proposed 150-foot setback that we're placing in the PUD. So this would be the new proposed line that separates the industrial from the RUR. And again, that's consistent with this property to the south. The same owner owns all of this property and the adjacent properties. So I think there's 23 acres in total to the west. But we are asking for, as a part of this application, to establish a 150-foot setback buffer to protect this area back here even further than what the LDC would require with that 150-foot buffer. Now, also worth pointing out, the existing permitted plans are also approved with that same 150-foot off of the existing line. So we're just trying to be consistent with what we have already permitted. So if we were able to, through your approval and BOCC approval, to extend this 300 feet to match the southern property, we would want to maintain that 150-foot buffer off of the new western line. We have letters on file for the wastewater concurrency. There is no central water available on site, and so we are proposing a public consumption well. There is an existing well, however, that'll either be abandoned or reused for irrigation purposes only. There is no county sewer available at this site, but again, it's currently zoned industrial. And so we have submitted, and it may be in your staff report, an engineered design system showing where our aerobic septic systems would be, and their gang systems where multiple buildings tie in, so they meet all the requirements of central sewer. So again, I want to point out that there are two things that this application is seeking to do. The first one is to adjust that existing line between RUR and industrial 300 feet, approximately 300 feet to the west, which aligns with the approval that the property to the south currently has. And then also place a PUD over the entire new portion of that property, as well as the current 10 acres that's being permitted and under construction, to show the building layouts as you see them there. Traffic-wise, the entrance has already been approved through the county engineering department. Most of it has already been constructed that you see there. It meets all of the standards for large vehicles, semis, auto turn, all of that stuff checks out. Fire department turning maneuvers, everything like that. So the site is compliant and would meet and have no issues with your normal, what you would see in an industrial park. There's an industrial area right to there's currently another industrial area that's adjacent to it that's currently being used here, and others, as you'll see on the staff report, across the street. So regarding the staff report and the recommendations or the conditions that were placed on it, there are just a couple of things that I would like to hopefully correct. First, I believe there's a typo, and it's not in the staff report. It's not the staff report's typo, it's mine. In the table of figures on the top right of my master plan, somehow it got transposed, and it only shows 36,000 square feet of building. And as you can see there, each one of those buildings is 6,000, so obviously there's more than 36,000 square feet. So the staff report placed a condition, I believe it's number 1. This application shall allow up to 36,000 square feet of warehouse. That number, according to this master plan, to be consistent, is actually 100,800. So 100,800 square feet for all the buildings that are shown there. And that, just so you know, if you want to write this down, that translates to 63.65% ISR, which is under the allowable, and an FAR floor area ratio of 0.15, which is also under the allowable. And the second thing that I want to point out, and we've already briefly discussed it, is there's a condition that states that a wall be on the western property line. I believe that staff may bring this up in their presentation, but what we're asking for, and the LDC provides for this, is to have that 150 feet established, and so that we can't go into past that 150 feet, and by doing so, it eliminates the criteria for an actual wall to be constructed. So what we would be asking for is the plantings of a type D, just without the wall, and with your permission, going ahead and providing that extra buffer of 150 feet rather than, I believe, the 25 that would normally be prescribed. So other than those two adjustments to the conditions, all the other ones are fine as stated, and would love to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you. Does the staff have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir. Well, I know you're familiar with the conditions already, so I don't have to worry about that one. But so just to clarify, you're requesting that the condition, which condition? Number 2.
For that, you'll need to connect to a Wi-Fi.
Be deleted because you're requesting to use the provision in the Land Development Code, whereas instead of providing the 25-foot type D buffer with a wall, which is typically required between industrial and residential, you're going to maintain a 150-foot undisturbed area, which is one of the options.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And number 1, just adjusting that 36,000.
And we would also hopefully okay with adding for the future communications tower, clarifying it's a future 250-foot communications tower. We probably should have put that in the conditions.
Yeah, we have no problem with that either, yeah.
That was your application. Thank you.
I wasn't sure if that needed to be stated because it was already approved on the, it hasn't been permitted, but it was already approved on the previous plan. But we have no problem with that.
It's clarity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Collins.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I have a couple of questions. One dealt with meeting the test of policy 17.7.3 regarding the industrial waste, and you spoke about doing the on-site wastewater system and the treatment system. There is 4 bullet points. This is on staff's report, page 72. There is one that as an engineer, I wanted you to answer. It talks about the new IND use generates less than 1,000 gallons per day in wastewater. Would it meet that test?
Yeah, and that's how we were able to design these systems. So if you look at each one of those, it's hard to see on there, but if you have that master plan, you also probably have another master plan in your packet that shows the parking calculations. So if you were able to see that, you'll see that each one of those buildings has just one small office, which requires one restroom. And so all 15 of these buildings would be less than 1,000 gallons by state law with the sewage flow.
Okay, my second question just deals with your design. Some of these are future and some are not. You don't really want a true phasing schedule in any particular order, but how many years is your plan for build out? And I didn't see a condition that covered any timelines, and I don't remember with the PDs if it's how many years the code allows.
It's 3,
Is it 3?
unless you ask for different.
It's 3 to just obtain permits and keep them going, or it's 3 to build out?
As long as they're
Yes.
started the PUD and
Right.
continued actively. You don't need to extend.
So you're good with land development code?
Yeah, I don't know that we would need to change that, but I don't know that I could give you a timeline with until it was built out, no,
Yeah.
but I don't see any reason why, unless the board would just be uncomfortable with making it 5 years instead of 3, just to allow a little bit extra time. But I think 3 is normal, and I think that.
Well, it's just, there's an expectation when you approve these that you're going to either meet the code or the conditions. So can you meet it? And the public should have an expectation also.
Yeah, so-
And that's all. So if you're good with the code, then that's,
The only thing I would mention, and I believe that it's allowable as currently stated, is that since there's no order to those buildings, that we could build any one of them at any time. Yeah, it sounds like that's good.
okay, thank you so much.
Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, Commissioner Shara.
Morning, Mike.
Morning.
Couple general questions. You talk about these being commercial industrial warehousing units. Can you just, for general clarity, what is the purpose of these buildings? What will be done here?
Sure. So you could have an HVAC contractor. You could have a cabinet company. They're subcontractor type units where there's a little tiny office, and the larger area is for their supplies, for their manufacturing, for their storage of their stuff. Not a large box industrial complex, more of a subcontractor trades type occupancy.
So these are really intended for lease?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yes.
guess I missed that. I didn't catch that. The second is you've said that the existing water retention area that's been permitted was, I believe I heard you say, was initially designed with the intention of building out this area to the west. Is that correct?
Yeah. So this pond is designed to handle, I'll try to go slow, and it's not permitted this way with the county yet. The county just shows all of this as impervious gravel, 57 rock. But the calculations, you asked about the specific design. This pond is designed for this entire area all the way to here and then down to be asphalt and or building. So we designed this pond with the intent of one day this would all be buildings and impervious. This pond was designed a year, 18 months ago, so it was just done forward thinking. And one thing I didn't mention, and since you just asked the question, there are two small retention ponds on either side of this cross access. Both of those handle the water of basically this roadway up until this point right here.
Okay, great.
I forgot to mention that pond, but there are two small interconnected ponds that handle that stormwater. This, in terms of the design, this pond is in a hole. It's a natural hole. It's a natural low area. So all of the surrounding properties, actually, some of it contribute and drain here too. This pond, we will never have to worry about any type of overflow structures or flooding anyone else because all the water comes here. So it's designed with a 100-year storm event, and there's no overflows whatsoever. So that's why this pond is as deep and as large as it is.
Okay. So keep digging in for a second. The areas that's now shown to be the warehouse areas, and in phases, that's all on the existing site that's zoned industrial. Did I hear that correctly?
Everything currently, all 12 of those buildings that you see here are currently on that site. This parking lot, these parking areas for the buildings to the left are on the industrial piece. It's a portion of these three buildings that would extend into what we're asking for. So yes, all of this is currently on that site.
Okay, so you're within current zoning at this point?
Correct.
For the industrial. So what is going to be, or what's proposed to be in those buildings shown on the area that you're requesting becomes zoned industrial?
No difference. Same as to be consistent with all the other buildings and the uses of those buildings.
Okay. Question related to what happens into the west of that. You said in the west you were proposing a 150-foot setback.
Right.
And although I couldn't see it, it looked like on the drawings that it was treed at this point.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's an aerial on here. No. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So this property that's gray, this property here, this property here, and this property here is all same landowner. The applicant lives in this home right here and has all this property that's in planted, I believe it's planted pines right now. And so this is not planned to change whatsoever. And this 150-foot setback is also not planned to really change. There's nothing that's going to be happening in there. So I don't know if that answers your question, but currently from the gray area all the way to this other road is the same landowner, and he lives in this house right here on this lot.
Okay, so what you're proposing would be a deviation for a 150-foot setback in lieu of the wall and type D buffering.
Yeah, so I don't know if deviation is the right word. We're requesting to use that section of the code instead of another section. Because as I understand it, if we have 150 feet, there's an allowance to not have to have the wall.
I see, okay. One last question down to the south. It's the bottom part of the drawing, we'll assume that's south, adjacent to the residences there. What are you proposing to do along that dashed line that would be adjacent to the residences?
Yeah, so that's a good question. This property here is already industrial as well. And so this is actually a separate owner, same family, just different owner. So our property line stops where the gray stops. But this area to the south, this industrial area is the one I mentioned previously, went before this board in the BOCC a couple of years ago and obtained that zoning back to this area here.
So you're not proposing, then between your industrial site and the site adjacent to
Between the
it?
two industrial sites, we would just comply with LDC standard.
Well, that's where I guess it was referred to as a sodded strip.
That's right.
At that particular point. Okay, I think I got that. Let me just check my notes real quick. Lights and noise.
Right, so we would comply with the LDC with the lighting standards. More than likely, most of these buildings would have lights on them shining towards the roadways in between. A lot of industrial places do that rather than large poles and site lighting. And that way, you're also shielded by the eaves of the roof lines. So site lighting, I would say, would be proposed or would be included within the building design. But even if not, it would have to comply based on the conditions with the LDC. And then, I'm sorry, I don't remember the second one.
Noise. What
Noise.
in terms of what's going to be done here? Any potential issues on noise?
So there's nobody to the north, there's nobody to the west but the owner. To the south, it's an industrial piece now that is currently just has, I believe, one residential house on it. And then to the east, it's industrial on both sides of the highway. So I would venture to say that based on the nature of what's to the east and across the street, what we're proposing would be far less noise than any of that.
And just for clarification, that's general warehousing and commercial for lease, not heavy industrial manufacturing or other types of activities.
I mean, we're not asking to be restricted on the uses that are allowed within the industrial zoning, but there's no plans for any large manufacturing. Based on that layout, it wouldn't be possible anyway at the building sizes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shara. Commissioner Facemeyer,
I'm fine, thank you.
you're fine. Anyone? I just have one question for you, Michael. And it has to do with, we don't have your waste system. We don't have that in our packet. And I'm very familiar with them, but my question to that would be, I know you just said air conditioning contractors and so forth is going to be in there. Will they have any access to your well water other than in the restroom? I mean, will they be using this inside the warehouse to, rinse equipment or?
So,
And I don't know what
there's probably going to be a requirement to have a utility sink in the warehouse area. Based on certain uses, some of those buildings may have to have an eye wash station. Not that I can really think of, no.
All right, so that brings me to my question is can you address the industrial waste entering the wastewater system?
Yeah, so we're required to have the public consumption well be a certain distance away. And I don't know if it's in your packet or not, but there's another plan submitted that has the parking calculations on it, but the public consumption well is proposed to go here. And then if you can look, and this is all grassed area in this cross between these four buildings. There's all four of these buildings tie into one aerobic treatment here. All four of these tie into one. These two tie into one. And then these three tie into one that's right here. So all of them are multi-system and monitored to meet the essential sewer requirement.
So then the cross area is grass, not asphalt,
That's correct.
You mentioned earlier was all asphalt.
So right now, the pond is designed for it to all be asphalt. But this plan shows roadways going around, but in between those buildings, those cross areas, it's all grass.
Okay,
It's
great.
a good question.
All right, and thanks for answering the question about the stormwater at the entrance, because I saw the pond there, so I was curious what it went. Commissioner Bramlett?
Yeah, I just have some concerns regarding comment that you just made. If we upzone this property to heavy industrial, just that back 300 feet that we're talking about, some of the future uses that may be allowed there at some point in time, let's just say water and sewer become available to this property. We don't know when or if that's going to happen. You connect this property to water and sewer, now the heavy industrial uses, they ramp up for what are allowed to go there. I know that we've got some building size constraints based on what you're saying, but, you know, still things happen. So what is your suggestion to alleviate any future concerns that maybe some of the neighbors may have regarding what this property could turn into in 25, 30 years?
I don't know that I have any ideas for that. I mean, to your point, yes, we want to, what you would be approving could change, but at the same time, if you flip it around, we could easily put, if you were to approve it, we could come back and ask for the smaller buildings to be on the new section. And 25 years from now, a new owner could just put huge warehouses on the existing, and we wouldn't be able to say no. So I don't know that I would feel comfortable giving that answer, other than the site constraints do not allow for, the parking doesn't allow for large manufacturing. The people load's not there. Can't have the employee parking areas, they're not there.
So my thought is that what's already zoned industrial is zoned industrial. I'm not going to take away somebody's private property rights, but upzoning a portion of rural residential with mobile homes allowed is a large deviation from what is allowed to what we're asking for. And I don't really have a huge issue with it just because of I know what's there already. But I feel like there should be some sort of mechanism or constraint or condition, and maybe this is a better question for the staff, that we need to confirm that whatever the uses that you're determining that are going to be there, those are the uses that are going to be there as part of this PUD.
Right.
Not that, okay, you know, somebody's going to buy it and then in 25 years when sewer and water are available, they're going to tear down 4 or 5 or 6 of these buildings and now we're going to have a concrete plant or something that's going to be much more, you know, agitating to the neighbors, because that is a neighborhood just to the rear of there. And, you know, heavy industrials, it travels. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Michael. We'll get the staff to come forward and make her presentation.
Hi, good morning. Kelly Caudill, planner.
Good morning.
Application CPA AA PUD is a request to change a portion of Lot 0A from rural residential mobile homes allowed to industrial, and to create a PUD that will incorporate this portion of Lot 0A and all of Lot 14200, which is already zoned industrial, to allow for commercial and industrial warehouse units and also a 250-foot telecommunications tower. This slide is showing the entire 14.7 acre site that's proposed for the PUD. The site takes access directly from Citrus Avenue. This slide is showing the portion of Lot 0A that's proposed to be rezoned to industrial. This portion is approximately 4.57 acres, and the remainder of Lot 0A will remain RURMH. This map is showing the existing lot 14200, already zoned industrial. It's abutting existing industrial to the east and south and TCU to the north. This is a photo of the existing industrial use that is to the east. This is showing the existing planted pines on Lot 0A to the west. This is the master plan that consists of the multi-unit commercial warehouse buildings and also the location of the proposed telecommunications tower up in the northeast corner of the site. And this shows the proposed locations of the aerobic wastewater treatment system and the drainage retention system. And that's all. Does anybody have any questions?
Does the applicant have any questions for staff? Does the board have any questions for staff? As I'm losing my voice.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Scherer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The previous conversation triggered a question, and that is, for each of these individual warehouse units, we don't know specifically what function will be inside. Assuming that they have to have some type of floor drainage system as well as sanitary drainage that will go into these digesters. Any consideration for, normal products that could be, potentially be used, solvents, or light chemicals or others, mixing into the aerobic digesters or the anaerobic digesters? Was there any discussion of that at all?
No, I don't.
Just to clarify, yeah, kind of. Condition number 3 talks about complying with policy 17.7.3, which is something that Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Bramblett were kind of referencing. Before central water and central sewer are here, they cannot in any way have industrial waste created that enters the wastewater flows. Regardless of what Dr. Wilbur might say or not, they can't do it. It's a condition of approval if that condition stays. They also can't have any new industrial use which generates less than 1,000 gallons a day in wastewater, period. They can't. So that's certainly going to limit some of the uses. If central water and sewer are placed here, I don't think that's likely in the near future, but if it is, they're going to be down by that PUD. And the PUD will, they can't tear it all down and make a big manufacturing site, for example, or suddenly turn it into a concrete plant. We have the rules here. It's a lot of square footage. They can combine some buildings. There's a little bit of flexibility in a PUD, but not a lot. So I think with that condition in the PUD, we have some reassurances that we can't enter the wastewater, we can't enter any kind of industrial waste in the wastewater flow, if that answers your question. Trying
It
to
does.
address also what Commissioner Bramlett talked about.
It does. Could I, a follow-up to that, when we talk about future uses, and we can't look too far out, but as we look under 2414, Heavy Industrial District, which this is, and we see what uses are permitted and what uses are conditional, under this PUD, if someone in the future would propose to either sell a parcel or change the purpose from general warehouse and commercial, or not commercial, warehousing and commercial, to another use, they would have to come back to the county in front of this board and the BOCC to change the PUD.
Well, currently it says commercial/industrial warehouse units. That is very general. So I know that he's not trying to tie too many future hands here. It is mostly industrial already. We can put some prohibited uses in there, but they're going to be bound by and combine 2 of those into one instead of the separation, but there's not a lot of flexibility there. Definitely intensity, any increase in intensity absolutely automatically triggers a PUD review.
Okay. So one general question, and we'll see who wants to answer this, you guys. I don't recall in our code what the noise limitations are at the property boundary. Do we have noise limitations at the property boundary? Other than the state has limitations.
Yes, the Citrus County Code of Ordinances does have a noise ordinance, so they would be bound to that. It's not in the Land Development Code, though.
Okay. So if any one of these particular functions would generate noise that would be in excess on whatever range they measure, I'm thinking about impacting the people who are living adjacent to this fairly narrow strip of land. Even though it's zoned industrial below them, they would have some recourse to come back and say, this is a nuisance.
The noise limit for industrial is 75 dBA during the daytime and at nighttime.
75?
Yes.
Okay.
Pursuant to the Citrus County Code.
So they would be able to make a complaint, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that at the property line? I'm just curious where that's taken from.
Yes, yeah.
At any property line? So if you stood at any property line on that the northeast, south, or west side of it, that's where that noise would be taken from?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Curious.
Can y'all hear me?
Any other
I can
questions?
totally hear you. You said yes, yes.
Echoing.
I'm sorry, it's not.
Any other questions for staff? I have one for you. Just to kind of piggyback on the industrial waste entering the wastewater flow, can you refresh my memory on hazardous waste? And is industrial, they have hazardous waste? So is there some kind of there you go. Joe, I knew you were going to hit me up on that.
Yeah, the Development Code does have a special section when hazardous waste is considered. And so from my understanding, this has not addressed anything in that section dealing with hazardous waste. So if something were to come in that would trip that section of the Land Development Code, I don't think it would be covered under that section because there's very specific requirements for hazardous waste producing uses.
So how would we know? How can we safeguard that for their tenants? We don't know who's going in there, and they might have.
Well, the policy is actually industrial waste, not hazardous waste. So any industrial waste can't enter the wastewater flow, period.
And we're also talking to public, and we're not always as smart as you guys. So, I mean, my definition of hazardous waste might be different than yours.
Right. So we would look into that, but this application will not give them permission to suddenly violate. That's what he's trying to say, the hazardous waste codes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Industrial and hazardous.
That was my only question. Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, the public portion of the meeting will be now open. If there's anyone present who would like to speak on this application, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address this board. If you have any documentation that you want to enter into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Good morning.
Good morning, Rhonda Distel, Crystal River, 9530 West Cedar Street, Crystal River, Florida. Currently, I still own property there on the south section where the mobile home neighborhood is. I did sell out 2 of the properties. One, the gentleman's here. My daughter's still in the other. To David's point, back over 20 years ago, that property that's down that dotted line, just north, below the yellow line, that property was purchased as a farmland. Sean with SMG and back over 20 years ago purchased it. He does have the office there now, but he did come before the board and they were able to change that property to industrial. I fought that tooth and nail because of our backyard. I realize we've been granted the pleasure of not having that development in our backyard all these years, but to what David's saying is we don't know what's coming in 20 years. And I think there's so many questions on this right now because as y'all know, we have 589 coming out there right now, and the county can't afford the road as it is. And just our infrastructure in this area is just so impacted. And we continue to make these changes like this, and we can't afford it. We're talking wastewater. We're talking the industrial that is there to the north on the right side. That's a good indicator of what the usage would be for this kind of impact. That's been there now ever since that change of probably about 20 years. There's plenty of water and waste usage and a good idea of what this kind of development brings to that type of area. I understand at the far end there, back where Shamrock backs up to this and that RURMH, but literally where this extends is right in my daughter's backyard now. That's my grandchildren. The trees are coming down back there right now like no tomorrow, and it literally feels like from here to that flag. That's how close this is to the back door. I caution that this is a huge impact on our infrastructure that we just don't, the county can't take it for the road, let alone some of the water issues that we have. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next speaker.
All right, Rob Stapleton, 8549 West Charlene Lane, Crystal River, 34428. I'm no expert on any of this stuff and definitely not good at speaking in front of everybody, but I can tell you my house is directly like in the center of this. So when I look out my backyard now, trees are coming down, like Rhonda said, and it's just, it doesn't feel good, you know? And kind of hurts. You know, all these years I've been here, and it's nice to look out and see like farm, and it used to be trees back there. And I'm worried about the noise and what could happen. With the trees coming down already, I mean, it's way more noise just from the construction that they're doing. And with the wastewater, I've been around shops my entire life, and I don't care who's going in there, and you think they're not gonna be using water for whatever. I mean, if you think of a mechanic shop, you don't think of water, but those mechanics could be pressure washing off engines or underneath the cars, and all that's gonna go into wherever the water is gonna go. So, I don't really, like, I just wanted to say, I just don't feel good about it. I don't know that I can make a difference. I don't know what the wall is that they were talking about. A wall would help, certainly. I don't know how tall it is. But, you know, looking out my back window, which used to be trees and just like a pasture, at least a wall would be nice, you know, if it's gonna have to be there, if it's gonna have to be industrial. You know, the trees coming down, really, that's the big one for me. It really hurt, because now I see all the construction going on. It's just, you know, I moved from Tampa away from all that big development to come up here, and just kind of saddens me. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Anyone? All right, does the applicant have any rebuttal to the public input portions only?
I just have five comments. The first one is, I want to make sure the board clearly understands that the property that's industrial that the first speaker is talking about is not part of this application. It is a separate owner. And this property is about 160 feet deep or wide, however you want to look at that. And so from these north property line of these existing residences plus 160 feet is approximately the start of what we're talking about doing. That's the first thing, and it's a completely separate owner. The second thing I want to point out is there was two people that referenced the trees coming out. That are these trees here that are a part of the existing permit. They don't have anything to do with the rezoning of this parcel. All these trees are still here. We're talking about these trees that were taken out under the existing construction permit. In terms of noise, I would suspect, and I offered as an answer to a question previously, that those units are going to shield noise from the existing industrial activity that happens on this piece of property, which was also mentioned. And I want to point out this is a separate owner, different business entity, different business model, different activity that happens here than what is being proposed here. The last speaker talked about a wall. This is a great picture to talk about that wall. That wall that would be required is here. And so what we're asking is, instead of having to put that wall here with a 25-foot buffer, we're asking for 150-foot buffer and to not have to build a wall. The wall wouldn't go down here close to these residences. The wall wouldn't go here separating the two industrial pieces. The wall that we're trying to ask for the allowance to use the other code would have gone here, separating the owner from the owner. And that's why we're asking for that 125 feet here. So again, this property here is zoned industrial. This is not part of our application. That's a different owner. Have no idea what their plans are or what they'll do in the future that's adjacent to these residences. Our application is only in the yellow, and also this application that's in yellow has nothing to do with the business that currently takes place here. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you mind if I ask the applicant a question while we have him here based on something that he just brought up? regarding the buffer.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
think it's pertinent. So we're talking about the wall. We understand it's not a deviation. The 150-foot setback, the plantings that would be required there, I don't know what the staff would say, but currently those planted pines, is that what would be intended to stay there in that buffer?
So we would still plant the type D buffer plantings just without the wall and have that 150 feet.
Cleared?
To the west side of the 150 feet, I don't know the answer to that question.
So what if we just said we wanted those planted pines to stay? Because that's a pretty large.
So the planted pines that you see there, all that's currently ag. And so any of those trees could come out at any time.
Understood.
Under ag and the property rights that are there. So I don't know when the plan would be to harvest those trees. I don't.
Right.
But there is no plan that I know of that would remove them.
Yeah, so if we wrote it into the condition that the 150-foot buffer in lieu of the wall will leave the existing planted pines in perpetuity, or something of the like. I mean, as opposed to just clearing that entire space, having grass in the future, 150 feet setback, now we've got a large planted pine forest, if you will, that is...
I understand what you're saying, but I guess the point of what I was saying and what I want to just rebut with that is you're just asking him to do that against himself because it doesn't help any of the neighbors that just spoke.
For now, he may sell that property in the future. It's residential.
But at least at that point, those people who would be purchasing know what they're purchasing and they know what's adjacent to them. I don't know that we would be comfortable with. I feel like that would be a property right thing that I don't know. I don't know that we would be comfortable with that. But there's no plans to take out those planted pines right now.
Right. But we're talking about property rights, but you're also asking to, do something different with a particular piece of property than it's already zoned for. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a give and take. That was my only statement. It's okay. I understand. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. At this time, I'm going to close the public portion of the hearing down, and I'm going to bring the discussion back to the board. And who would like to start?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Scherer.
General comment. We look at the changes coming in the county. We talk about the need for more industrial base in this county, in the proper areas, in the proper zoned areas, to allow future growth and for job creation and for other purposes. On the surface, this looks like it would fit that classification. This site is located adjacent to transmission corridor. It's located adjacent to a road, has industrial areas as a buffer between the proposed site and in the residential area. And this is going to be falling into a classification that industrial was there. These facilities are proposed to be located on that industrial classification. So it's not appropriate not to allow already permitted uses on that industrial zone. Regarding how do we make them good neighbors, which is part of what this conversation is about, I'm not sure I understand the application now related to this 150-foot setback that's being proposed. What staff has put in as condition is a type D buffer, and a type D buffer also includes a 6-foot wall, if I understand correctly. And so the applicant is saying, well, I'd like to leave 150 feet. I was under the assumption it was 150 foot of trees they just wouldn't cut. What I'm hearing now is, for a clarification, that may not be the case, that they could cut those trees and just leave 150 foot of open space, but they would come in and plant the type D buffer vegetation that's required. Doesn't make them necessarily help with the neighbor issue. And the other is on the on the south side of that particular parcel, I didn't hear any discussion at all regarding how that 150 feet is configured between them and the existing industrial site and the residences of the south. So although I support this application because it is in an area that has been previously designated and zoned for industrial, I find some confusion about the buffering. I think the requirements for buffering should be maintained, or if there could be a negotiation with the developer and leaving those particular trees in lieu of a wall, if that would be acceptable to staff. That may yet be determined as, I don't know if that's considered to be a minor change, that they have the right to negotiate. I do have concerns about these digesters, and I think one of the folks from the public made a good comment that, look, if you have a mechanic shop or you have a woodworking shop, or you will use water for cleaning or solvents or others. Joanna made, Ms. Cantu made a comment as a clarification, they're limited to 1,000 gallons. And I believe that's per day, correct?
For wastewater.
Of wastewater, not storm runoff. But that 1,000 gallons doesn't relate to quality of that water. And I think that has to be, make sure that we understand what that is. So this is the kind of issue that we're going to continue to face, where we look to have industrial commercial expansion within our county, adjacent to residential areas or farm areas or others. And this checks the box on 3 sides. So, and it appears to be a permitted use for what is currently done. So I will support this.
Thank you, Commissioner Shara. Commissioner Facemeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do intend to support this application.
It's short.
Yes, sir.
Bramlett.
That's a save time for rest.
I'm just curious if we could have some conversation with the staff regarding the type D buffer without a wall and the 150-foot separation.
Good question. That was what I was going to bring up.
So if he decides they're going to leave the trees now, we don't put any condition in there, just says it has to be a type D buffer, 150-foot separation, no wall. What does that mean? Tell me what does that mean as far as plantings and?
So, Chapter 5 of the Land Development Code, which talks about buffering against adjacent uses, has 2 options for industrial, right? Because industrial is exempted from the small and large non-residential design standards. And so it says that if you have industrial next to residential, the standard is a 25-foot wide buffer with a certain planting number and a wall. There is a provision in there that says if a development leaves 150 foot of an undisturbed area between the extent of development and the adjacent property, they do not have to put in the buffer. So we rarely ever see that because it's not very common that an applicant is willing to give up 150 feet of their property, industrial property, to keep it undisturbed area, or, not extend their development in some form or fashion into that area. So those are 2 things that the code does allow by right for industrial property. And so my understanding from Dr. Wilburn is that they are proposing to maintain that 150-foot buffer of no development on that side. Now, as he stated, it is currently ag classed and it has a tree plan, it's timber, which would allow them to remove those trees. If the board wished, you could condition it that there is some sort of planting required between the extent of development and that property, or the adjacent residential, so that if those trees are harvested, there is still some sort of vegetation there. But the way the code reads, you either do 25 foot with the D plantings and a wall, or as you know, you can modify that, or you do the 150 foot undisturbed, no development.
And I think Dr. Wilburn, I think Dr. Wilburn also offered to plant the type D without a wall if they remove those trees. So that actually is above and beyond what the Land Development Code would say in that area.
Right. Okay.
You said without a wall?
Right, because they'd have the 150 feet, they're actually done, But he did offer that they would do the type D plantings in that area if that timber is removed.
That doesn't mean it's over and above, right? Over and above would be,
It is over and above because all
fence.
they really need to do is have the 150-foot separation. That's
So-
all the code needs.
So there was a phrase, though, you used, or a term called undisturbed.
Yes.
And I think the devil's in the details here. So if the assumption is undisturbed means the existing vegetation that's there, and if we make a condition or condition this application, undisturbed is what's there, or can understand that over time vegetation will come and go and live and, grow and live and die. But how do we define undisturbed?
Yeah, so in this case, they have an ag classification for timber, and we can't overlook that as well.
Can they make a commitment to maintain
They
that?
could. My
But
suggestion,
aren't we changing the classification to industrial?
with a PUD. So that particular area is being proposed to be open and not developed.
So my question is the 25-foot type D without a wall plantings, is that going to go on the west end of the 150 feet or the east end of the 150 feet? Or can go anywhere in that 150 feet that they want?
It could, but the 150 feet can't have any development as far as you can't put structures there, you can't put
Yeah.
pavement there. So based on what Dr. Wilburn was saying, the proposed condition for 2 perhaps to consider is the applicant must maintain a 150-foot development buffer with a type D without a wall on the west side. Basically saying, the PUD says nothing here. You can't put anything here except the type D plantings.
Yeah, so I would also point out, because when you said undisturbed, that sort of raised an antenna for me. So undisturbed means undisturbed, in my opinion. So if he has what's there now and then you disturb it, is that undisturbed?
Right now, the difficulty with this particular parcel is that it is in trees. It has agricultural classification. The county does not make that determination of whether something is ag class or not. That's the property appraiser's office. Regardless of what the underlying zoning is, if there is existing ag classification, that ag classification can continue so long as it's a bona fide commercial operations. So even if you change it to heavy or industrial, that ag classification can continue. But you can't require him to maintain that agricultural use. You can, and as has been offered, they're willing to put type D plantings in there, but I don't believe their intent or their offer is to plant 150 feet of type D plantings. So I would suggest if you're going to add that condition and if you're negotiating and they're willing to do it, I would say type D plantings over X feet. And you would say either at the east or west side of that 150 feet, if that was what they were willing to do. But I don't think they're willing to plant the whole 150 feet.
Our plan, and we would have no problem if you wanted to put it in writing, would be to, like I said, that 25-foot type D plantings would be on the property line.
At the west property line?
Yep. And then you still have 150 feet of no activity.
Just for clarification, you're now talking 170 feet?
No. They're going to put 25 feet of plantings inside
150
the
foot.
150, but on the far side,
Got it.
not
Got that.
the west side, not the, and again, it's not going this east-west, it's going north-south, the plantings.
Right, so the residents, I think, are on the south side.
The residents there are residents on the west side as well.
Yeah.
A little bit further
So
out.
the condition I just read would change to the applicant must maintain a 150-foot development buffer with a type D without a wall at the west side property line.
Yeah, the question I have is right now it's planted, so the PUD is created, it's developed. Whenever he cuts those trees down, we don't know. How does that mechanism to confirm that the type D plantings at the west side property line actually get put in?
That would be permitting, so at the time of permitting of structures on this site.
But the permitting is already done. That part, because he may not cut those trees down for another 25 years.
Construction, and he's gonna be doing buildings and buildings, so it's a requirement there. So if we go out there after he's permitted the building for our compliance inspection and see that there's nothing there, we're gonna fail it until he puts that D in.
What
So
if all the buildings have been constructed and he's growing those trees for telephone poles, which isn't for another 25 years, and he's done with permitting in 10 years? Then he cuts those trees down. Where's the mechanism that says that type D buffer has to be put back in, and who sees it?
Right, that's a problem we have with many of our applications. We rely on complaints, and if there is a complaint, then.
Code compliance, complaint driven.
You got it.
Okay, well, this is a recorded presentation.
Putting them on notice.
I don't want any of you to rely on the pictures as to the status of the property and the status of the current trees, because those may not be current pictures.
Understood.
So Joanna,
Trees grow, trees get cut down, trees get replanted. That might not indicate the current state.
understood. So Joanna, could you read your proposed language?
So, first of all, condition one, because based on Dr. Wilburn's changes, it would allow up to 100,800 square feet instead of 36,000. And a future 250-foot communications tower. We would add that clarification. But number two, instead of what's on your staff report, the applicant must maintain a 150-foot development buffer with a type D without a wall at the west side property line. Instead of maintain, I should have said establish and maintain, excuse me, to make it clear, he's gonna have to plant that. If he
Type D plantings.
Yeah, with a type D, right, a development buffer with a type D without a wall at the west side property line.
You need to make sure it says type D plantings, right? Are you just skipping that word, or?
Because a type D buffer is type D plantings, but I'll put it
Okay.
in, that's fine.
Okay.
So establish and maintain a 150-foot development buffer with type D plantings without a wall at the west side property line.
Yeah. Okay, I would say, Mr. Chair, with all of that discussion, that I am currently in favor of the application. The other, aside from this buffering that we're dealing with, I wanted to talk about the buffering to the south side. They're really, that particular, I think that's parcel 01, if I can, that's not owned by this particular property. It's zoned industrial. If that property ever decides to develop, right, with a PUD or anything like that, they're going to be required to do the type D buffer with a wall. Obviously, they're not going to be able to, they may be able to, I'm going to say not, but the 150 feet that we're talking about now in lieu of a wall, I don't think is going to work on that particular site. So I'm okay with that particular situation. The other situation is the industrial / hazardous wastewater. I don't know how you deal with that. I know that the industrial units across the street, there's a granite dealer or a granite shop over there. However much water they use or don't use, I don't really know. I think that's a little bit above our head. People are going to do things against the law. That's just what people do. However you deal with it is how you deal with it. If people that are in the neighborhood or the neighbors know and can confirm and know, and they think that there's wastewater being dumped down into the system, then code compliance is complaint driven. Aside from that, I'm in favor of the application.
Thank you, Commissioner Bramlett. Commissioner Collins?
I have no objection as presented and as just currently discussed. I mean, it's in a pocket surrounded by the industrial TCU to the north. Yeah, the ag class on there, I mean, the Right to Farm Act is very strong. So we're preempted on that. So provided that they're willing to do the 150 and at least do the type D plantings, then I think that exceeds the current code criteria. Yeah, the developer to the south, if they ever develop, they're gonna have to meet the buffering requirement where it abuts the residentially committed properties. And you modify condition 1 to meet the square footage. Yeah, it meets the test for concurrency, compatibility then in that case, and with the comprehensive plan, so I have no objection.
All right. I agree with the rest of the commissioners. I don't see why we can't approve this. My only problem, and it's been my problem for years, it'd be my problems for years to come, is what do we do with this industrial wastewater? What do we do? We probably do the same thing at home that they're gonna do there, just more intense. We can't control it. I don't think code enforcement can really control it because they're gonna deny it that they ever put anything down there. And we don't have any biological testing, that we can do to say otherwise. So I would be in favor of it with the conditions that has been changed.
Mr. Chair, for the purpose of a motion,
Commissioner Bramlett.
the Planning and Development Commission finds application number CPA/AA/PUD 2025-00003 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board recommends approval with the modified conditions of the application to the Board of County Commissioners based upon the evidence and testimony presented and the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition.
Now second. So we have first by Commissioner Shara, second by,
Bramblett.
Commissioner Bramlett, second by Commissioner Barmas. Any further discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And Mr. Chair, this application has been placed on the Board of County Commissioners' agenda on January 6, 2026 at 5:05 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have any other discussions?
This is your last meeting for 2025. I appreciate all the thoughts y'all give for these applications. I'm very thorough and very appreciative. In January, our meeting would fall on January 1st. Clearly, we're not going to be here, so you just don't, it's one meeting in January. It's January 15th, and it is a whopper because it's one meeting in January. You have 6 applications on there. So that'll be a bit of a long one for you, unfortunately, and then hopefully we'll go back to two a month after that.
And we pick a new chairman that day too, right, that
We
morning?
do that will be a reorgan. I hear you now. Okay.
So there's 6 applicants. Go to one of you guys.
6 applicants, oh yeah. One of them is a staff ordinance amendment, but the rest are detailed, so. Thank you, guys, and happy holidays. Did you have anything to add, Mr. Landon? No?
One thing I want to say to our friend Eric. Eric, I do thank you for some of the comments, or all the comments that you made the other night, or the other day. I think they're very well taken, and I think it was a very positive stakeholders meeting. And I think you brought it in. They were kind of shy, I think, at the beginning, and you woke them up and you got it going. So we thank you for that, because 9 o'clock in the morning, stakeholders is not on our steak and eggs maybe, but not stakeholders. But thank you for that.
And Eric, our meeting was also very quiet and reserved, and no opinions.
No, that's not what I read. All right, motion to adjourn.
Happy holidays, guys.